This is Russ Kensior, and you're listening to Safety Matters. Joining me today is my co-host, Tony B.
And another season.
Yeah, well, getting older, Tony, every day. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday. I'm not going to ask how old, but
no,
you're younger than me. That's all I could tell you.
I'm another year younger.
Yeah, just a youngster. Just a baby.
I sure am.
Well, let's get at it.
Yes.
Safety Matters in the news.
All right, Tony, we got a lot of safety matters in the news. The first one is the September 18th story of musician Post Malone, who suffered a nasty fall.
Nasty.
The media likes to call everything nasty.
Yeah, they do.
Nasty. He fell into an open hole on stage during one of his concerts. Have you seen this?
Yes, I remember it well.
Saves the St. Louis Blues after sustaining a rib injury during a concert. In a video obtained by E! News, the musician is seen taking a nasty tumble through a trap door on stage during his September 17th show in St. Louis, Missouri. While performing his 2019 hit Circles, one of Malone's legs falls through an open grate in the floor. The 9-time Grammy nominee is then seen in pain and holding his stomach as medics rush to his aid. But after only a 15-minute delay, Malone returns, solo cup in hand, and apologizes to fans before continuing the concert.
Solo cup in hand. Check this out. He just stepped right into the hole. And you ask yourself, why was that even open? Well,
I mean, if they let him out, or to get up on stage, they should have had someone from underneath and lock it.
Well, doesn't that thing just open up from beneath?
I think he crawls out of there like when he first comes in, because that goes to the lower deck.
Well, how does he get out of there? Is there like a ladder or something?
Yeah, there's a ladder there.
Well, he had few things to say after he had fallen.
So whenever we do the acoustic part of the show, the guitar's on the guitar stand and it goes down, and there's this big ass hole, so I go around there and I turn the corner and bust my ass, and winded me pretty good, got me pretty good, and we just got back from the hospital, and everything's good. They gave me some pain meds and everything, so
I'm sure he's got quite a few.
On the tour. I just want to apologize.
I mean, what a way to get injured. Broke 3 ribs.
Yeah.
Tony, he actually is common. It's very common in the entertainment industry for actors, actresses to fall off stage. Here's Madonna. Watch this one. Down the stairs, but look what happens. All the actors or dancers just kind of pretend like nothing happened. She's okay.
Straightens out her wig.
Who's this, Tony?
That's an old rocker.
Aerosmith.
Boom.
May have had some alcohol and or drugs involved in that one. You got to listen to when she falls.
Ooh, I hear the thud.
Listen to this. We're going to replay it.
Ooh.
But
Mic
again,
drop.
They just, it's like, yeah, she's fine. Start to it again.
Please forgive me. That's not funny.
Look at Lil Wayne.
Whoa.
Boom. Down you go. There's actually a website that you can go to. It's called Ranker. You ever heard of this?
No, I have not.
Yeah, well, it's called Ranker, and it's a website that has the greatest on-stage celebrity falls. You can actually see, I think there's 20 or 25, something like that, on there. But it's not just people on stage that are getting hurt. It's folks all over the place. Remember this one?
Oh, I do remember this.
So it was back a while.
And where does this take place?
A convenience store.
Ooh.
Workplace injury. So she didn't know. But look, she did the same thing Post Malone did, except she didn't land on her ribs. She, here's another one. Oh, boy. All right, so what do all these falls have in common?
They happen on the job.
Yeah, people were working. And so, you think about it, actors and actresses in the workplace are performing, right?
Yeah.
It's OSHA. I would assume OSHA would cover this, right? Workers' comp and all that kind of stuff. Or maybe there's some indemnification that you don't have to comply with federal law for a workplace injury. Because that pit, that Post Malone felon, that should not have been open.
Yeah, but then they go based on who owns it and who they can do, the promoter or himself.
That's why God invented lawyers. I mean, it's an OSHA issue. OSHA has a fall protection standard, defines a hole as a gap or void of 2 inches or more in its least dimension. 2 inches constitutes a hole in the floor. Standard has 2 requirements respect to holes. First, requires that employees be protected from falling through holes more than 6 feet by fall arrest systems. You know what those are, right, Tony? The harness.
Yes.
A fall arrest system is kind of like the guys that are working on a roof. Mm-hmm. You're in the construction trade. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. If they're on the lift.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anything that has a total fall distance of 6 feet need to have fall arrest. Now, I don't know if Post Malone, if he didn't land on his ribs, he just stepped and went straight down.
Yeah.
That could have been pretty serious.
I didn't know that you said it, 2 inches is considered a hole.
That's what it says, 2 inches or more.
Wow.
In the least dimension. So I guess that's for getting your heel stuck in. But anyhow, you got to put fall arrest, guardrails, covers.
Yeah.
Second requirement requires that employees be protected from tripping or stepping into holes. Now, let's be honest. You're not going to put a guardrail on stage.
Right.
What could have been done? What went wrong?
Well, I think, again, they should have had, when he came out of it, someone underneath should have closed the trap door.
Right. It swings from the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Close the trap door.
Right. And then at the end of the concert, when he wants to go back out, then you can open it up.
Doesn't it like a hydraulic thing where it just kind of like appears?
I don't know. Well, just depends how sophisticated their staging system was.
Well, you got to prevent people by putting covers over them. And, it's an OSHA issue. Centers for Disease Control also talks about floor holes and wall openings, ladders, fall protection, unprotected edges. So there's a lot of data. Holes. Yeah, a lot of data on this subject. Bureau of Labor Statistics said 261,930 private industry and state and local government workers missed 1 or more days of work due to injuries from falls on the same level or lower levels. This would be a lower level fall. But look, Tony, 798 workers died.
My goodness.
So he didn't really lose a work day. He came back after falling.
Yeah, but 3 broken ribs, right?
Yeah. You saw how he landed. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, he did.
Well, what else we got in the news today? Another interesting story. This one's about Matthew McConaughey's wife, Camilla. And she took a nasty fall. Nasty fall. This is how the media reports him. November of last year, there's Matthew and his lovely wife. There she was after she took a nasty fall. Interesting comment, though. She said, happens. She wrote alongside the snap. This is right from Twitter. I'm okay, but don't fall, people. Don't fall. Ladies, hold your long dresses up or loose pants up when going down the stairs.
It's another stairs accident.
Another stair-related fall. Wind blew mine as I was midair. Pant fabric wrapped around my shoe. And down the floor I went. A silly fall. Aren't they all silly? Turned into not-so-silly neck situation. Recovery time ahead, she added. So it's a pretty bad fall. And you're right. It is a stairway fall. And, last time we talked about Ivana Trump falling down the stairs. And so she must have fell on her neck. Or injured her head somehow. So this could have been a far more serious injury as far as a head injury that induced it. But she identified the cause. Her dress or pants got caught in the wind and caused, I guess it was a trip. She tripped and fell, right? And subsequently injured herself. And kind of another interesting story, one that you brought to me. And this is the one from the New York Post, January 17th, a couple days ago. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, this is tragic.
Building superintendent describes final moments of swimmer killed by falling tree in the Bronx. Falling tree in the Bronx. I don't even think they had that many trees in the Bronx. Said here that the Bronx woman killed by a falling tree in an apartment swimming pool had taken a break from work to do laps and apparently heard the trunk crack. She looked up before being hit. Donna Douglas, 59. Donna Douglas. Is that Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hillbillies? Wasn't her name Donna Douglas?
I don't know.
You remember who I'm talking about?
I don't know. But
Okay.
it's a tragic.
She was enjoying gorgeous weather with a female pal at the River Terrace Apartments pool in Spunton, Doyville, just after 1:30 in the afternoon when the horror occurred, said the worker, Alex Saiku. She heard a crack. For a second, she looked up, saw the tree leaning, the superintendent said, of his teen. She yelled, "Oh, my God," and here's what happened, Tony.
Boom.
Boom, look at the size of this tree.
My goodness.
What are the odds that she would be right there?
Yeah, but Russ, I mean, I see tree accidents all the time.
It just seems to the average person that this would be extremely rare. You know, I actually had my wife had a friend of her family who was driving a car, and a tree fell. and crushed her in the car and killed her. Killed her in the car. So I wonder if that counts as a tree accident, death, fatality,
Right.
automobile, or COVID. Could have been any one of the three.
Yeah.
But apparently this is quite a big problem. These trees falling. Look at the roots on this tree. They kind of rotted away, or they're just kind of dead. That tree was just kind of standing there.
Yeah.
Didn't have any roots. But did you know that there's over 250 billion trees in America? 250 billion trees. I don't know who went out and counted these. But look at how common, apparently, this type of injury is. In March of 2013, a 12-year-old Connecticut girl, Gabriella Hudick, was struck fatally on the head by a tree, which collapsed in her own yard.
Yeah.
The girl was rushed to the medical center, succumbed to her injuries after a 3-day battle. So imagine you send your kid out in the backyard and you say, "Hey, go play," and
And the tree falls.
you know, and a lot of people buy homes. I'm one of them. So are you. That actually you want mature trees.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of a selling feature. So,
Sure.
honey, look, we're living in like in a forest. You know, the
Right.
more trees, the better.
Shade.
Yeah, shade
Keeps it
and just
cooler.
yeah. I mean, it just increases your property values,
Sure.
and so everybody wants trees. But look what happens in August of 2013. A 30-year-old New York woman was sitting on a park bench in Queens when she was crushed and killed by a falling oak tree. There was just so much blood. Said a horrified witness. I'll bet that'd be horrifying.
Yeah, no kid.
She was 5 months pregnant at the time.
Oh, my goodness.
January 2014, 50-year-old North Carolina woman Cheryl Harrison killed after high winds caused a tree branch to sever and fall. You know, when you think about it, all these hurricanes like in Florida, that you
Right.
see all the trees are knocked over, or
Right.
you know, the southern states, Louisiana. I mean, big trees.
Right.
They knock them down. The hurricane knocks them down. So I guess they're relatively fragile. If you have a big enough wind,
Sure.
that tree's just going to topple over.
Right.
But last story, 22-year-old California woman, Kenesha Hawkinsdale, was killed while driving by a eucalyptus tree.
Sounds familiar.
Eucalyptus tree. Interesting. OSHA covers this as well. Check this out, Tony. There was over 100 landscape and tree fall fatalities every year, according to OSHA. A lot of people die this way.
My goodness.
Unfortunately, it doesn't really make the radar screen here as far as likelihood of fatality. I mean, 100 people a year, when you compare that to other types of death, where automobile accidents or falls are 1 out of 100 people die of that. Got an interesting case here, Tony. SoFi Stadium. You familiar with SoFi Stadium?
Yes, I've heard.
It's really pretty.
Yes.
Really pretty stadium they built out there in California. The Rams play there, and the
Chargers, yeah.
Is it both of them play there?
I think, or the Raiders? Or
No.
that's
The
in,
Raiders are in Vegas now.
That's
So
right, in Vegas.
yeah,
that's right.
the two teams play at the stadium, and this past couple weeks ago or a week ago is
Yeah,
when we had the national champion. Yeah,
That's right.
and so SoFi Stadium was the host of the national championship college game, and a lot of people fell. The report stated that although the stadium has received a lot of awards and recognition for its structural design, basic things like making sure people don't slip and fall on the wet flooring, went by the wayside. And by the way, that's kind of common, when you're dealing with a construction project, especially one that's so pretty.
Right.
I mean, this is a stadium that when you look at it, it's actually gorgeous. Look at
very
this.
modern.
So this is all about really setting an impression, making an impression on the community, and
right.
Just really beautiful. But in this particular case, there's a lot of criticism. The stadium was built with openings on the north and south side of the structure, which allowed water to come indoors while it was raining. And, of course, the wet surfaces caused injury to some
Lots of
attendees.
slips and falls.
Lots of slips and falls. When people walked in on the surface, covered in rainwater, they slipped. Some got injured. Just a real disaster, real bad idea, okay? And so you have this wet surface that every time it rains, it becomes slippery. Well, didn't you think that they would have kind of thought about that?
Yeah.
It's inexcusable, especially since the facility relies on people showing up for events there. Well, of course they do. Basic measures are a must, and SoFi Stadium obviously bears responsibility for every injury that occurred. That sounds like that came right off the lips of an attorney. Didn't it?
Yes, it does.
That sounds like that just came right off the lips of an attorney. But, nonetheless, it's a serious problem, and they give SoFi Stadium an F.
An F.
An F. In fact, NBC Sports had a little blog post, which I picked up, which I thought you'd find interesting. It said that pretty terrible stadium design. This is a Pioneer. That's the blogger here that commented. Pretty terrible stadium design. It not only allows water in when it rains, but there is also no air conditioning.
Nope, none.
So it's ridiculously hot inside when it's hot outside. How any engineer thought this design was a good idea in Southern California is baffling. And so a lot of people complaining about slips and falls at the stadium.
That's so good.
Did I ever tell you the time I had a lawsuit? I was not actually retained, but they hired me to come out to, is it Lincoln Financial Stadium, the one in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Philly. I get a call, funny story. I get a call, voicemail on a Saturday. Mr. Kenzie, or this is whatever his name is, and I'm with the Philadelphia Eagles organization. And we'd like to have you come out and take some measurements of the stadium in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. If you remember, it was just when the stadium opened.
Gotcha.
And he goes on to say, yeah, we'll send a plane to pick you up. No, look, Tony, I'm a Cowboys fan, all right? And who's jacking with me? Yeah, the Eagles owner is going to fly me up. And I think it was Monday, Tuesday, I get a call. Same guy. Hey, sorry, I missed you, but we got a problem. We have been red tagged. We can't play football in the stadium because the stadium, apparently they are a co-owner with the city. And they had a stadium rock concert or some type of event, and it rained.
Right.
And the stadium got really slippery. People were slipping and falling at the Lincoln Financial Center. And so I did. I went out there, and they had me examine the floors. In the whole facility, all the walkways are ramped. They don't have stairs. So everywhere you go, it's up a ramp. And it's all open around the side. And people were slipping and falling. So I show up and start taking measurements. And everywhere I'm going, they had a group of guys. Like, hey, here's an example of a product that we're looking at using. Tell us, is this a good choice? So I took my measurements. Then they said, oh, let's walk over here. Another group of guys testing that product. There were like 4 or 5 locations that they had me test the slip resistance of the stadium. And they said, just tell us which one we should go with.
Right.
I didn't know any of these guys. And so I did my testing. We sat down shortly thereafter, and I said I'd go with number whatever, 2 and 4.
Right.
They have a sufficient level of slip resistance, but they're not too aggressive that you can't clean it because they use auto scrubbers, the machine with the Zamboni.
Right. And then it picks it all up.
Yeah, and I said I'd go with this one is my first choice. That one is my second choice. The others were good, but you're going to have hard times.
Problems down the road.
You're going to have problems down the road. So it was probably 6 months later. I get a call from a guy that has a very heavy Italian accent.
Hey, you.
Hey,
what's the matter,
Mr.
you?
Kendazor, just want to thank you so much for endorsing our product. And I said, okay, I don't remember who you were.
I'm the guy who invented it.
When you come to Philly, your money's no good here. We'll take care of it. I'm like, who? Huh? I didn't even met any of these guys. But apparently he had won a multi-million-dollar contract to
fix it,
safety treat the entire SoFi Stadium.
Oh, great.
So it's an interesting story. But I was not actually retained as expert as in a lawsuit. It was
But
an
you
expert
know what?
in
It sounds
testing.
like they were proactive.
They were.
Amen.
Well, they had to. But I
Amen.
got a nice tour of the stadium, you know, and went into locker rooms.
But how many places do you know that's
most
they
don't.
kind of sweep it under the rug type sort of?
Actually, I did have a lawsuit. One time I was retained in a matter against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a young man was at the game with his father, season ticket holders. It was the first quarter was over, something like that. Second quarter was over. He walks out of his seat, and he goes down the ramp into the men's restroom.
Right.
And as he goes into the restroom, you know, it's one of the restrooms that you have to make the turn around the wall.
Right.
Boom. Down he goes. And the floor was wet. A toilet overflowed.
Right.
And he...
And it's all concrete,
It's all
slick concrete, polished.
all concrete.
Yeah.
So he comes in, does the splits, and jams his ankle into the wall, fracturing his ankle. Father's like, where is he? Where is he? He hasn't come back. He goes down to the restroom. There's a big crowd. There's his son laying in this soaking wet
Puddle.
Yeah, the whole floor was wet because of the toilet overflowed,
sure.
and the porter, the person who's in the restroom, was watching the game. Go figure, and never noticed the toilet overflowed.
Darn it.
Became a big lawsuit. I got retained. Had to go and testify at trial, and I'll never forget the case because they escorted me to the restroom. You know, had the security guards and the risk manager put me on a golf cart, took me right to that restroom, and watched me. It was the day before the trial. And I said, well, guys, can I go up and see where the path that he came down, the walkway? I want to simulate what he did.
Right.
No, you're not allowed to. Get in the cart. Let's go. So I testified at trial the next day and told him what I saw. And one of the questions came up, well, Mr. Kenzier, did you get to see everything you wanted when you were at the stadium? I said, well, you know, I saw what was most important, the restroom and the type of floor and the condition. But I was, you know, kind of wanting to simulate the path he took as he was walking down, making a turn, you know, lighting, that sort of thing. And well, did you get to do that? Well, no, I was not allowed to. Not allowed to? What do you mean? I said, well, no, the security guards, risk manager, they said, nope, get in the cart, and drove me away. And so I'll never forget it. As I was telling the story, I said, you know, just kind of remain silent. I looked at the jury and I said, you know, that's just not the way we treat folks in Texas.
Good man. It's the truth.
Yeah, so turned out where the young man won a lot of money, multi-million-dollar settlement or jury verdict. But he never became the same. I remember talking to the lawyer several years later and said he really could not get off of opioids.
Oh, my goodness.
For the ankle pain. So he really destroyed his life, which is a shame. You know, he's a young man and
no money doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't mean anything.
Usually doesn't.
Got another interesting story here, speaking of football, and that's the, I don't know if you heard this, but the National NFL Football Players Association is calling on the immediate ban of slit film turf to help prevent player injuries. Are you familiar with split film turf?
Yes, it's the stuff that when when you see it on TV, you can see the rubber kind of come out of the turf.
Right.
Apparently, they're trying to simulate real grass.
It does. It tries to simulate grass as cushion, but apparently it's got a problem. One of the big problems is that the players' cleats get stuck in it.
Because it also has traction capabilities.
Too much traction. And so they're tearing ankles, knees.
Blowing them out.
Big problem. So next week.
Good.
I'll be interviewing Richard Humphrey, good friend of mine, number 59, former New York Giants. Nose guard or center? I keep forgetting. I think he was the center.
Yeah, he looks like a center because he's hiking the ball.
And so Richard Humphrey, who is a former player, is going to be on the show. We're going to talk about this very issue. And I think you're going to find this interview interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he said some things that were really quite interesting about how the NFL and the players are treated from the owners. And that there's a big difference in how important safety is to NFL owners versus how important safety is to the players. So.
No kidding.
But anyhow, that brings another show to an end, Tony B.
Well, it's good to be done with this episode.
Had enough, haven't you? Throw the towel in.
No. We'll look forward to another one.
We covered quite a bit. We're going to cover even more. So this is Russ Kenzier and Tony B. wishing you a happy and safe day. Until then, take care.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.